Year 7, the Friday lesson. We've much to discuss, but we will be 2 scenes further into the play. So we've passed the halfway point. Last term you studied symbolism, possibly. Well, let me explain. Symbolism, it means an image that represents an idea. That image could be in art or literature. An image of a heart could mean love, a dove, peace. In literature, specifically Macbeth, who instructed Macbeth to look like the flower but be the serpent underneath it, be the serpent under it. And what do they mean? So think about what a flower symbolizes, think of what a snake symbolizes, and what does looking like a flower, being a snake under it, symbolize? What does it mean? And who instructed Macbeth to do that? And if you don't know, then type that quotation into your search bar, and you should join thousands of others who've done the same. You'll have the answer. Today you need to know what antithesis means because it appears in Shakespeare whenever you come across Shakespeare. It means a person, idea, or thing which is the complete opposite of something else. The key word is opposite. For example, um, you could say that the porter is the antithesis of King Duncan. It's also a technique where the phrase has a contradictory appearance. So here's an example. After life's troubles, Duncan sleeps well. So life being troubled contrasts with sleeping well. Therefore, that technique is antithetical. But what does Macbeth mean with when he says that? And now, if antithesis means opposite, love is the antithesis of what, and Macbeth is the antithesis of who. Remember, um, think about what Macbeth represents at the moment and think of someone who really embodies the opposite. Today, you're going to study the language in scene 2 and flash through scene 3 because you're going to imagine you are one of the characters in scene 3 and write a diary entry. Let me give you the tasks now. So, first of all, what are Macbeth and Lady Macbeth thinking in the scene we're about to read? And the second task is to write Fleance's diary entry, Banquo's son's diary entry, for the night Banquo was murdered. So let's look at the language in both of those scenes. Lady Macbeth appears by saying, we don't really have a remedy for our problems. Banquo is still alive, yes, but we can't solve that. We can't remedy it. Therefore, she says, pay no regard to our problems. We have to take things as they are. What's done is done. And don't think too much about the guilt involved in assassination. Macbeth, he's preoccupied. He says, we scorched, some versions say scotched, the snake. Snake being symbolic for a problem. But we haven't killed it, he said. We can still be, he says, we could be poisoned by its former tooth. The frame of things means the way things are. Ear means before. Macbeth speaks of Duncan having a fitful life, but now being able to sleep well. So an uncomfortable life, but why can he sleep well? Lady Macbeth suggests that Macbeth will need in public to be calm and composed, poised, smooth over your face so you look relaxed, not anxious. Macbeth has invited Banquo to dinner as well as some other things. That scene is coming up in a couple of scenes' time. Macbeth says Lady Macbeth should speak well of Banquo, present him in eminence, or talk about him as if Banquo is important to us and not a threat. And Macbeth, he's going to be more assertive in this scene. He's going to ask, in a similar way Lady Macbeth did earlier, for spirits and Hecate to help him turn further towards evil. Hecate is a Greek goddess of witchcraft and so on. Now, these last 2 phrases are from the last scene this scene 3, gain. It's the time of day where travelers gain the timely inn. So lights fading, people need to reach their inns quickly, and it's customary for people to walk the last mile to the palace, having left their horses with servants, or so Banquo leaves his horses to go about, which means being put away by the servants. So, let's have a look at scene 3. So we leave the PowerPoint, we share screen, we include audio, we hop over to Edge. What's this Edge? This is Edge. Okay, scene 2. So Lady Macbeth comes in, enters the scene. It says naught's had, all's spent. So naught meaning 0. Really, we are king and queen, but there's still a lot to do. All spent. Our energy's been spent. We aren't content, effectively. Of course, Lady Macbeth, look, she's speaking in rhyming verse. You know it's verse because there are capital letters for each line. And she shows that she's educated and courtly by controlling her language, controlling her language and the rhyme and rhythm of her language. Macbeth enters and complains that we scorched the snake, not killed it. We still have problems. We still have threats. This will be summarized in the video summary I made. Now, Duncan is in his grave, but nothing can touch him further. Poison or treason or domestic or foreign affairs can't cause him any problems because he, as a dead person, is actually asleep and relaxed. Then Lady Macbeth says again, sleek over your rugged looks. This is Macbeth asking Lady Macbeth to present Banquo as if he's important to us. And visit is a mask. Macbeth says our faces should be visits to our hearts. So what our faces show shouldn't reveal. Our faces shouldn't reveal what's in our hearts. There's Macbeth talking about scorpions in his mind. He's full of aggressive thoughts, and Lady Macbeth, notice how she's the one asking the questions now, whereas before she was saying, "Why the daggers here? Give them to me. Go and put on your nightgown." Now Macbeth is the one who's giving the commands. Be innocent of the knowledge. I planned a murder. He's saying to us, but he's sparing Lady Macbeth the details. And then he starts talking to spirits and making reference to rooks and crows and black agents and using some of that language that was more familiar to Lady Macbeth earlier. So a real power change, a shift of power, the power balance, Macbeth being more assertive, more violent. A quick look at scene 3. This is the murder scene. You'll note there are actually 3 murders, the third being deployed by Macbeth because he didn't trust the first 2. And it's quite simply 3 murders waiting for Banquo to arrive. At them attacking Banquo, Banquo saying, "Fly, fly, fly, escape, escape, escape," to his son Fleance. And so this document will help you write your diary entry. What will also help you is the video summary. Now, bear with me, I need to make sure the audio is turned on because it's an absolute pain if it isn't. By the way, some of you might want to know why I use eggs in these summaries. Well, it's simply because I was locked out of school and couldn't collect my Lego. So I had to improvise, basically. So here we are. I'll see you on the other side of this.
Students, a warm welcome to A Cold Heath. We are going to talk about a low character in a high place. Now, as you've probably gathered, that is an example of antithesis. So in today's scene, we're going to continue looking at how the murderers deal with Banquo. At the end of the last scene, we met Macbeth. We saw Macbeth standing flanked by two murderers. He's going to now send them after Banquo and his son, who are riding. At the beginning of the scene, Lady Macbeth says, "Naught's had, all spent," which means they spent a lot of effort arranging the murder, but they're still anxious that there are more threats. She then tells Macbeth not to worry any further, and Macbeth replies by saying, "We've scorched the snake, but we haven't killed it," which means the snake has been injured, but the threat still remains. The threat still remains from his former tooth. Macbeth also complains that he has a lot to think about now. He's on his own. He's become a tyrant. He can't really explain to anybody other than Lady Macbeth he's killed the king. And Duncan, because he's dead, is actually resting. He's sleeping peacefully. And Macbeth envies that position in some strange way. Then he tells Lady Macbeth to, sorry, I should say Lady Macbeth tells him to sneak over his looks, which means place a mask of politeness over his anxious face. And that's really fundamental to the play. We have people in high places committing crimes, but looking outwardly polite and respectable. And Macbeth, towards the end of the scene, says, "Our we should our faces should be visors over our hearts. A vizard is a mask." So again, fundamental to the play is this idea of appearance and reality, appearing polite, but in reality being criminal. And then you're going to see how the murderers attack Banquo and how Fleance, his son, escapes.
Naught's had, all spent. Where our desire is got without content, 'tis safer to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. How now, my lord? Why do you keep alone, of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which should indeed have died with them they think on? Things without remedy should be without regard. What's done is done.
We have scotched the snake, not killed it. She'll close and be herself while our poor Malice remains in danger of her former tooth. But let the frame of things disjoint, both the worlds suffer, ere we all eat our meal in fear and sleep. In the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly, better be with the dead, whom we, to gain our peace, have sent to peace, than on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. Duncan's in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. Treason has done its worst. Nor steel, nor poison, malice domestic, foreign levy, nothing can touch him further.
Come on, gentle my lord, sleeker your rugged looks. Be bright and jovial among your guests tonight.
So shall I, love, and so, I pray, be you. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Present him eminence both with eye and tongue, unsafe the while that we must lave our honours in these flattering streams, and make our faces vizards to our hearts, disguising what they are.
You must leave this.
Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. Thou know'st that Banquo and his Fleance lives.
But in them nature's copy, not etern.
There's comfort yet, they are assailable. Then be thou jocund, ere the bat has flown his cloistered flight, ere to black Hecate summons. The shard-born beetle with his drowsy hums hath rung night's yawning peal. There shall be none a deed of dreadful note.
What's to be done?
Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed. Come, sealing night, scarf up the tender-eyed pitiful day, and with thy bloody and invisible hand cancel and tear to pieces that great bond which keeps me pale. Light thickens, and the crow makes wing to the rooky wood. Good things of day begin to droop and drowse, while night's black agents to their praise do rouse. Thou marvelst at my words, but hold thee still. Things of bad begun make strong themselves by ill. Okay, let's jump across to the PowerPoint, and I'll just remind you of the tasks. So here we are. So, what are Macbeth and Lady Macbeth thinking in the scene, earlier on in the scene? In scene 2, basically, what were they talking about? And I overlaid that language with scene 3, which is the visualization of the murder, and you're writing Phileon's diary entry for the night Banquo was murdered. So, how do you feel about the loss of your father? By the way, I apologize if this is upsetting for anybody, if it causes you distress. Just don't bother about this bit at all. Who do you blame for the death, and what do you plan to do now? For example of the first task, Macbeth is thinking there is still a threat to him while Banquo lives. Lady Macbeth is thinking, well, I'll leave that to you. Here's an example of the diary entry. Dear diary, I can barely breathe. Just as my father and I reached the palace, we were attacked. My dad said, fly, fly, as he was stabbed. I have a strong feeling Dad was killed by assassins on the orders of Macbeth. And remember, you asked what Leonce plans to do now. Last bullet point. What I'll do now, there's a strange rumour I'll be king one day, so I might start working on my English, so I can write more better, and that. Small deliberate mistake. So, those are your tasks. Finally, how does Macbeth use symbolism at the beginning of this scene to say there's still a threat to him? The clue is a poisonous animal. And what's one example of the antithesis Lady Macbeth uses in her first speech? Those you can rewind the video to the audio if you like. It's where she's saying words, sentences that have contradictory meanings. So much to do, but we look forward to hearing from you. Have a good weekend when you reach it.